So hi all, we are back here for exercise 24, which is the Urinalysis Lab. And as you can tell, today we are going to be talking about urine. Very exciting, I know. So who doesn't want to spend their lab talking about urine? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send out an email, and if you would like to do your urinalysis, hopefully one day we'll be sending you kits, but if you would like to do a urinalysis, I do actually have 100 of these urinalysis test strips, and if you want to just go ahead and email me, or email me, message me through Canvas. Message me through Canvas is usually easiest. The address that you would like me to send your test strip to, and I will send you a test strip, and then I'm going to actually post this so that you can actually have the guide so that you can check your test strip afterwards. So again, that'll just be for some of you. I feel like for some reason the urinalysis part of this lab is harder for my online students to grasp, and I think it's because you don't actually do the lab. If you're doing it on yourself, I think it's a little bit easier. So really quick, just to talk about urinalysis, as you get to look at my urine here. The reason that we do urinalysis, obviously, is it's a very easy way for us to look at the kidney function of a patient, because urine output, right, is a direct function of the kidneys. So it's a very easy way to look at as a clinician, to look at your kidneys in a very non-invasive way, just to give us a baseline of what's going on, and in the urinary system as a whole. So just keep in mind that, remember that in a 24-hour period, the kidneys, again, are two kidneys. I say small, they're not that small. They're, about the size of your fist, but still, I feel like they're small for what they do. These two kidneys are going to filter about 170 liters of blood, which is roughly about 30 times the total amount of your blood volume in the entire body in a 24-hour period. So that just tells you how much your kidneys are doing on a day-to-day basis, and why we need to take care of our kidneys. So as a whole, in a day, in a 24-hour period, you produce about 1.5 liters of urine output. And that's important to know what your urine output is, because there are certain diseases that will impact your urine output. So for example, diabetes mellitus, diabetes insipidus, usually with those individuals, they have a higher urine output if their diabetes is uncontrolled, or if they didn't know they had diabetes. So that gives you, again, a little bit of information about other diseases as well. So the result of this kind of enormous processing that the kidneys do is that they help us to maintain our blood composition within a kind of very narrow range. Our blood composition, and this makes a little more sense when we start to talk about all of the enzymatic activity that has to happen inside the body. And all of these enzymes have to function within a fairly narrow range. And so because of that, our blood pH has to stay within a fairly narrow range. And so our kidneys are going to help our bodies do that. They're going to help our blood to maintain this kind of more narrow limit of pH, okay, and also help to maintain a low level of nitrogen wastes, to maintain about, again, a certain water content along with the pH. So our kidneys really help filter the blood, and they really help us maintain this kind of narrow range in which we need to maintain these characteristics of blood. And again, the main reason for that is because we have all these enzymes. Sorry, I know you can't see my face, but it's because we have all of these enzymes that really need to function within this narrow range in the body. And so if your blood pH is off, if it's too low or too high, those enzymes can't function, and your body is not going to be able to carry out all of the metabolic activities that it needs to do in a day. So that's why pH and blood pH is so important. And remember that when we talk about blood pH, it is logarithmic. So, if you have a change from blood pH of 7 to 5, that's a big change. It's not just a change of 2. Remember, it's logarithmic. It's 10 times 10. That's a 100-fold change. Excuse my cell phone. But that's a 100-fold change in pH. So it's really important to remember that the pH scale is logarithmic. Even a change just from pH 7 to pH 6. That's a 10-time fold change. So again, if you're talking about a change from pH 6 to pH pH 7 to 6, you're talking about blood in your, especially in your blood, and we'll talk about it in urine too. But in your blood, that would mean that your blood is now 10 times more acidic than it should be. So it's really important to keep that in mind. Same when you're talking about pH of urine. So when you're talking about pH of urine, if you have a change in pH that is, 1 below or one outside of the range. So again, let's say, your urine on the low end is, 4.8. If for some reason you have urine that's in the 3 range, that's really acidic. And so you're talking about not just a little bit more acidic, but like 10 times more acidic than it's supposed to be. So again, just keep that in mind when you talk about pH. Okay, so let's get back to talking about urinalysis. So again, this is an easy way for us to do a urinalysis. And when we talk about urinalysis, again, urinalysis is just a way for, again, clinicians to analyze basically the composition of urine. And so one of the first things that you can look at when you look at urine here is you're going to look to see if it has if it's clear and if it's like a pale yellow. So you're going to look at what we call the turbidity of it. And the turbidity is how clear it is, the clarity of it. So as you can see here, my urine looks nice and clear, not to brag, so you can see I have some nice clear urine. And that's a good indicator that, I'm not suffering from a urinary tract infection. I don't have protein in my urine or things like that. But again, you don't know until you test it with your test strip. But that's a good indicator of that. If the urine is really cloudy, that could be an indication of something like a urinary tract infection. Also, again, having pale yellow urine. So again, you can see mine is just about that pale yellow, anywhere from pale yellow to amber, depending on, how hydrated you are. But, if you have urine that looks pink, that could be an indicator that you have some blood in your urine. Now, please keep in mind again that if you're menstruating, then that could impact your results as well. But on a whole, if you weren't menstruating, there shouldn't be. And again, menstruating meaning like, especially if you have some leakage, if you're using a tampon or something like that, hopefully then that won't contaminate your urine sample. But you do need to, obviously, if you're ever having a urinalysis, you do need to tell your clinician whether or not you're menstruating. They usually ask. And then the last thing is, and this is always going to sound odd, but it's important, and those of you that have kids that have had urinary tract infections know this. Your urine has this kind of slight, your book says slight aromatic odor. So we all kind of know that smell of urine. If your urine smells really strong or even foul, so my daughter's had urinary tract infections, and I don't know how to describe it other than it kind of smells foul, then that could be an indicator, again, that something is not right within the urinary system. So again, that could be an indicator of a couple of different things, but urinary tract infection can be one of them. So again, those are some of the things we're going to look at with your urine. I want you to kind of first look at, before you even do the test strip, look at some of those physical characteristics. Look at the color, okay, of it. Again, it needs to be that pale yellow to amber. Look at the turbidity of it. Is it clear or is it cloudy? And then also, then we'll get into how we can do pH and specific gravity and all those other fun things that we can do with the test strips. So that's what we're going to get into next on how to do the test strip. So I have, I'm going to copy because my test strips are just a little bit different than the labs because I just ordered them for the semester. I wanted just a little bit of a hands-on opportunity for you. So they are just slightly different. They test for a few more things than the lab book does. But I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and I'll put this on Canvas for you so that you can read your results of your, and also it'll also give you the directions. I'll go through what to do here. It's very easy, but I'll also post the directions for you as well. So what you're going to do is you're obviously first going to set up an area, clean area for you to do your urine. And I have a paper towel and I have some waterproof book underneath this just in case. And then you're going to have your test strip, and I will send you the test strip just like this, and it will come in a bag like that. And all you're going to do then is you're going to take off the top. You're going to immerse your test strip very briefly in your urine, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to take it out, and you can lay it flat on your paper towel. I have a gloved hand so that I can touch my computer with my clean hand. And so then it's specific. It wants you to wipe off. You'll see I wiped off the excess urine on the edge of the cup. And the reason being is that's because if you have too much urine on your test strip, what will happen is the urine will run in between the parts of the test strip, and you'll see it'll alter the color of them. So they'll kind of run together. So that's why you want to kind of avoid that. So then you're going to go ahead and read your test results carefully within 60 seconds. So I'm going to just talk here for the next 60 seconds, and then I'll show you how I'll read the results here. So you can look on page 285, and it's nice. 285 actually gives you this great little this great table, not little, but nice table. And it'll actually go over some of the different components of your urine. And then it'll talk about the abnormal components of it. So for example, if you're testing glucose, which is going to be this last one here, you don't want to see any glucose in your urine, okay? Your glucose should all be up to 100% of your glucose should be reabsorbed or in your renal tubules, so you shouldn't see any glucose. And if you do see glucose, it's called glucosuria. And obviously this is one of the common signs of diabetes mellitus. So again, some of the things that you kind of need to watch out for if you have a history of that. So really quick, now that I have done my 60 seconds. What you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and read your test results. So, and again, you want to do this in good light if you can. So I'm going to try to show you best as I can. I'm going to flip this around so that you can actually see. I'm going to try to, this is a little challenging with my setup here, but if you can see, here's my test strip. And you can see the top one here, is actually going to tell you whether or not you have leukocytes. So let me see. I hope I'm not going to be able to tell until I review this video how well this shows up for you. But so you can see here, my leukocytes came out negative. The second one is going to look at your nitrites, and my nitrites came out negative. The third one you're going to see looks at bilirubin. We won't really talk about that one, but mine was negative. The fourth one down, so 1, 2, 3, 4 here. This fourth one down right here, I'm just going to go ahead and put this up against here and then wipe it off later. So that fourth one down is looking at your protein. And you can see, so in your book, it'll say albumin, but this one's just testing kind of for protein in general. And so, and albumin is an indicator that protein is crossing. And larger proteins should not be crossing the glomerular membrane. So they should not be crossing into the glomerular capsule. So if they are, that tells us that there may be damage to the kidneys or there may be kidney disease. So that's an indicator. Also, if you were pregnant, it could be an indicator of preeclampsia. So I ended up actually having that protein in my urine was an issue. So, you know, those are important things to look at. You can see my pH. My pH is actually around 6.0. If you look right there, there's my pH. It's around 6. So that's normal. And we'll talk about some of the normal ranges here in just a minute. Negative for blood in my urine. So that's important. We don't want to see blood in the urine. You can see here specific gravity, and we'll talk about that one in just a minute. My specific gravity looks like it's about 1.015 there. It's kind of borderline. Either way, it wouldn't make a difference. 1.015 or 1.020, probably closer to 1.020. But again, you know, we'll talk about that's within the normal range for specific gravity. Ketones are negative, so we want to see negative ketones. So you can see match up my ketones are negative there. My bilirubin, let's see, my bilirubin is, your glucose is also should be negative as well. So again, glucose should not be in the urine. It's one of those, and we've talked about it. It should not, let me just wipe this off here. So you don't want to see glucose in the blood. And so what I suggest you do is have your lab book right next to you so that you can go ahead and you can make a little chart and you can go ahead and write your results down. So we talked a little bit about things that you want to see in the urine and things that you don't want to see. Leukocytes are the first one that you're going to look at. And the leukocytes are going to be in your book. It's going to say white blood cells. So leukocytes are a white blood cell. So again, that should be negative. If they're positive, that's usually a sign of inflammation within the urinary system. And oftentimes it's an indicator of infection, okay? Because your leukocytes are there to help fight that infection. So that's the very first one that you're going to look at. Nitrites, we're not going to get so much into the nitrites and the urobilinogen, so you can kind of skip over those ones. Protein will be the next one, which would be like your albumin. It's the same kind of indicator as albumin. And again, you don't want to see protein in the urine because that oftentimes indicates that there is, for some reason, damage to the glomerular filtration membrane. Because proteins normally, especially your larger proteins that they're testing for here, like albumin's a larger protein, shouldn't be making it across that membrane. So again, this could be happening because you've had damage to the kidneys. It could be happening because you have kidney disease for some reason, or it could be happening because you have preeclampsia and your blood pressure is really high and pushing things that shouldn't go through that membrane through. So those are some reasons why you want to look at protein in your urine. The next thing down that you're going to look at is pH, and your pH has a pretty wide range for urine. To be honest, your pH can be anywhere from 4.6 to 8.0. And the reason being is remember that your urine is going to help regulate your blood pH. So that's why your urine pH might vary. So your urine pH will vary more with things that you are taking in. So, you know, if you just had a bunch of coffee and you had some more acidic liquids, then your urine's probably going to be more on the acidic side versus, you know, it might be more on the basic side if you're not drinking, you know, a lot of acidic things. So that's your pH for your urine can be anywhere in between 4.6 and 8. That's a pretty wide range. Next, you're going to look for actual blood in the urine. So you're looking for red blood cells in this case when you say blood in the urine. So that's the next one down. Sorry, I should be showing you on your test strips. That's the next one down in your test strip here. And so, again, you want to be negative for red blood cells as well, because this would be an indicator that you would have some breakdown in your glomerular filtration membrane. And that would be allowing actual whole red blood cells to pass through. So again, that could be kidney damage or, you know, an indicator of kidney disease or something like that. So that's the next one down that you look at. Then down from that is specific gravity. And specific gravity, again, is going to kind of tell you how many basically solutes that you have in that urine per liquid. And so if you look, the range would be anywhere from 1.001 to 1.035. And so anywhere in here that they give you is going to be in the normal range. You can see I was at 1.020. So I was right in the middle of the normal range there. So that's good specific gravity. The next one down is ketones. And so here I was negative for ketone bodies. Small levels in the urine are normal if you have small levels of ketone bodies, but higher levels are usually caused by some type of metabolic abnormality. Sometimes it can be an enzyme deficiency. Sometimes it can be that if you've done one of those ketone diets and your body kind of thinks it's in starvation, or if you are actually in starvation. Or it can also be an indicator that you might have diabetes mellitus. So those are a couple reasons why you might have ketone bodies. So glucose, also you're going to look at glucose, and glucose should be negative. So unless you had, you know, a lot of intake of it, but even if you have a lot of intake of glucose, you really shouldn't have glucose in your urine because, again, the renal tubules are so excellent at reabsorbing that glucose. So again, you know, if for some reason you exceed the renal tubule's ability to reabsorb it, meaning you've had a lot of glucose, there's a possibility you might end up with trace glucose. But if you end up with higher levels of glucose in your urine, that oftentimes is an indicator of diabetes mellitus. So just as I thought those are some interesting things. Again, now remember that you are doing test strips here, and I'm sending them to you in the mail. So please keep in mind that you know, you can't diagnose yourself off of these. This is just for fun. If for some reason something comes out a little abnormal and you're concerned about it, you can always go see your physician. Please don't email me because I am not an MD. And so I can't diagnose you. I know the anatomy of things, but I don't know the disease physiology and pathways. So again, you know, you can these are fun to do, these test strips, but if for some reason you do get an abnormality, don't go freak out right away. Please keep in mind that I'm sending you these test strips. They could have been damaged in the mail, or the heat could have damaged them as well. So just for fun. And if you are concerned that there might be an issue, again, you can always go see your physician, but hopefully these are just a fun way for you to learn urinalysis and kind of keep it interesting. Again, that on page 285, you'll see they have all of the abnormal components of urine, and you can kind of look over that. They talk about some of the reasons why you look for some of the things that you do. Remember, our test strips are a little bit different, so they don't, they're not testing for some of the things that you can see in there, and then they test for other things. But you can keep that in mind. And then you can actually go ahead and do this page, your urinalysis here. Again, you can do the color. You can do the turbidity, which is just your clarity. The specific gravity you'll do with a test strip. pH you'll do with a test strip. Glucose you'll do with a test strip. Albumin will be, again, protein. It'll show up as protein on your test strip. And then you have ketone bodies, red blood cells, and white blood cells. So you actually have everything on the chart there, which makes it interesting. And again, I can... if you want, you can actually post your test results if you don't mind, or you're welcome to keep them to yourself. All right, and I believe that is it. So please let me know if you have any other questions or concerns, and I will see you for the reproductive system.